Welcome to Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist.
I'm super excited to have you join us on Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami. The Peak Performer is a platform where African industry leaders, culture shapers, and game changers gain insights to achieve excellence in their space. So, we provide leaders with insights to grow their revenue, to improve operational efficiency, and retain their customers, their employees, and investors, while also providing every professional with insights to grow their careers. We also spotlight and celebrate credible leaders with admirable skills through our awards and recognition. We have the Peak Performer 100 and we have the Peak Performing Woman of the Year. So we have created Becoming the Peak Performer as a platform where we discuss the big issues career professionals and business leaders in Africa are facing, with the overall goal of providing practical solutions to guide them to recording consistent growth. On this episode, we shall be having a conversation with an honoree of the Peak Performer recognition. After the conversation, I'll be sharing my thoughts for the week with you. So let's go on a short break and I'll return to introduce our special guest for today. Stay with us.
The Kickoff Summit 2025. Start the year strong. Join us at the 2025 New Year Kickoff Summit, where the brightest minds and key market leaders come together to chart a course for success in the upcoming year. This dynamic gathering is designed to set the tone for peak performance across industries. Participants will gain valuable knowledge from experts across multiple sectors, including finance, technology, healthcare, entrepreneurship, and more. Key highlights: expert panels featuring industry leaders and trendsetters, comprehensive 2025 insights across diverse professions and industries. Register now at www.kickoffsummit.com.
Our special guest for today is a seasoned strategist with vast knowledge in sales, financial accounting, customer relations, and business development. Her change management skill is top-notch. She's also an associate of Chartered Insurance Institute and a member at Institute of Financial Consultants. Previously, she worked as the Chief Financial Officer and Divisional Director at AXA Mansard Insurance PLC and also as the Divisional Director, Retail Solution. Rashidat Adebisi obtained an undergraduate degree from the University of Lincoln. She is presently the Executive Director and Chief Client Officer at AXA Mansard Insurance PLC, and she is an honoree of the TPP platform, specifically the Peak Performing Woman of the Year. Please welcome with me Rashidat Adebisi. Thank you. It's good to have you here, looking radiant as always.
Hard work does that.
Yes, I know. So let's begin with this. From your perspective, who is a peak performer?
Wow, I mean, the peak performer can be defined in many ways, but in the end, you're looking for outcomes. You're looking for the ability to be resilient. That means you're overcoming challenges along your path. You need to adapt, especially if you live in Nigeria, Africa. You need to be very adaptable. You move quickly in a VUCA environment, but you also need to be, big picture thinking, because nothing is always limited into a silo. And maybe the last point would be someone who is a collaborator, because you can't do it alone, right? The forest isn't made up of one tree. And the moment you can think about this, then you are definitely on the path to peak performance, if I might say so.
Fantastic comment. Resilience is there, collaboration is there, the things we are saying. One quote that came to mind, based on what you were saying, especially about collaboration. There's this statement that it is your network that makes your net worth.
Very popular.
And when you say collaboration, I mean that really just speaks directly, to that quote. Now, you've told us who a peak performer is from your perspective. Now, we want to learn and delve really into some of your experience, and to ask that, what would you say are the top 3 skills that has helped you over time to deliver peak performance?
Top 3, changes, but I feel the ones that are strongest. Maybe I'll first of all talk about, focusing on yourself and being self-driven. I've always believed that you don't compare yourself to others. Yoruba say that don't use someone else's watch to check your time. So for me, it has always been about how can I be better than the last time? So better than the last Rashidat. So that always works, because that ensures that you are developing, you're growing, and you're becoming, suited for whatever new level of challenge you're facing.
So there's Rashidat 1.0, 2.0, 3.0,
Constant.
4.0.
I'm just like you. So I'll say, perhaps another key point along the path would always still come back to resilience, right? You have to remember that no one says the road is always going to be smooth. And, challenges are not going to destroy you. In 5 years' time, if you look back, you'll be like, oh, it wasn't all that bad. But when you're inside, it feels like you're almost going to just explode. So learning how to manage those challenges, knowing that there will be low periods, but, working on your personal self, exercising and doing things makes you healthy so you can absorb shocks. And the reason why I said is that everybody faces shocks, right? But when you are in your lowest point, sometimes it can feel like it's impossible. When things around you are just going everywhere, how do you hold forth? So resilience, I would say, is the second one, especially when you are when you're in this place. And the third one for me is about teams. I stand on the shoulder of many people as well, and the reason is that you can do so much more with others than by yourself. Don't believe that you have everything that is needed, because you need to bring strengths together. The team can create a huge, formidable progress. I've been very lucky to be a great team player, and understanding when you need to push, when you need to work with people, when you need to challenge, and then when you just need to fall back and let everything, all the magic happen. So I'll say those are probably top 3 things to share today.
Wow, great. Has there been a challenging experience, something really challenging, that you went through in the course of your career, and how did you come out of it? How did you develop yourself from it? How did you make that happen?
Oh my goodness, there's huge stock of many things, but many of them end up becoming successes, not because they were necessarily positive, but because you're able to overcome it. One experience for me is, when you're having to take really tough decisions. We had a situation where we had to exit a business, for example, and even though you believe in it, right? I've had a situation where I felt, this is good, but when you look at, you have to consider all the other factors. And sometimes you have to take really tough ones. So I've had an experience before where we had to all agree on a particular exit. And it was very, very debatable because everybody was on different sides of the fence. So in the end, we agreed to go and to do, let's go out of this space. But one person has to share that message. So when I'm the one who's sharing the message, so sometimes you are not necessarily aligned at first, but you understand the why. So I learned that commitment, is very important, because once you've made a decision, you have to be committed. And you have to be able to share the message in a convincing way. Not say that they told me. Some people said, it's not me or it's the boss. So, when you're a CFO, I was a CFO, I'm a chartered accountant, as you can imagine, you have to give bad news. When you're trying to tell your team this is not, going well. So that sharing that negative message isn't the easiest. So I learned something I was saying in Yoruba called Agbekale. It's about delivery in English. And I try and teach my teams. And I says, look, you can give a bad message, but you can give it in a good way. So, so it's just that example. I have to be the one saying to everyone, we're exiting this place. And I think people think you're the bad guy, but you have to remember that it's not their fault. So you don't take it personally and just manage it through that sort of event. So those have been things that, finance people have to do. And when you're the boss and you are responsible for a business as well, you have to tell people things they don't want to hear. But you don't take it personally. You try and deal with it, but you deliver with empathy. You're very thoughtful about it.
Kudos to you. Let us go on a quick break.
The Kickoff Summit 2025. Start the year strong. Join us at the 2025 New Year Kickoff Summit, where the brightest minds and key market leaders come together to chart a course for success in the upcoming year. This dynamic gathering is designed to set the tone for peak performance across industries. Participants will gain valuable knowledge from experts across multiple sectors, including finance, technology, healthcare, entrepreneurship, and more. Key highlights: expert panels featuring industry leaders and trendsetters, comprehensive 2025 insights across diverse professions and industries. Register now at www.kickoffsummit.com.
You are listening to Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami, a platform for inspiring an inclusive culture of peak performance in the African marketplace.
Now, speaking of the ecosystem around here and infrastructure around here, what would you consider? I mean, outside of that, because there's also the place of personal responsibility, right? What would you consider as those things you have seen as a business leader, the things restricting the performance of leaders in Nigeria, and we can say by extension on our continent?
Yeah.
And what solutions can you also recommend, for them?
Wow, maybe just a couple things that comes out strongly, just talking about ecosystems. In Nigeria here, if you're a leader and you have to build something, you have to think beyond just what you are offering. You have to work with others. So sometimes you have to find a good logistic company that work with you and experiment. And you have to be ready to share in the profits and the losses sometimes in there. Sometimes people are not pragmatic enough to realize this. But people who are, you see them doing quite well. Here as well, one of the things leaders face is that a lot of the business methodologies are very, big picture, very big general. I think there are actually a lot of our own cultural things that are useful. You have to adapt, big methodologies. You can say, there's one Lean Six Sigma, there's this one, there's that one.
How does it apply here?
That Lean, adapting it in Nigeria or in Kenya, wherever it is, it might work in a particular way in the UK, but you need to do a lot more adaptation. So that ability to adapt effectively is also where I tend to see us having a challenge, especially in some sectors, because if you don't adapt well, you lose it. And we also have some very good cultural values that we're not experimenting. I feel that there's still room for people to research into our own Yoruba, Igbo, and all sort of business methodologies that our forefathers used. People talk about the Igbos who are already taking people who work with them and train them before they sort of then set apprenticeship program. That's really strong, but nobody is really studying that and using that to leverage to feel that they could develop something here. We have some really great culture that we can leverage on. If we listen, I hope I will also support one day in trying to do a lot more research to find out what are the things people have used to really be successful in the past, and how can we leverage those? What are the new things and how do we adapt it as well? And I'll also say to people that this ecosystem, one person can't do it alone.
At all.
And they said that the fourth industrial revolution is about collaboration and partnerships. So how can we work together and think that let me have 10% of something huge rather than having 100% of something small? Our people are not collaborating enough to make sure that instead of having 15 companies, can we set up 2 great companies? And that will really help us to scale faster because we're all siloed and so fragmented, and then the impact is difficult and we can't manage shocks along the way as well. So maybe just a little bit of those things I see on a daily.
Insightful. Now, speaking of collaboration, not working alone, not working in silos, I want us to tie that to your thoughts on emotional intelligence. Why should a leader pay attention, to improving their emotional intelligence?
Oh, emotional intelligence. I don't even feel we can ever fully dissect it, but it's just doing good business the right way. Some people are lucky because they do a good job, they get to the top. But they can't sustain it because of their level of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, really not just delivering results and destroying the people and everything. Because people who don't have it, they lack sustainability capability, because the company will be successful when they are there. When they are gone, it's gone, because they just put things that are very surface-based and not really deep. So when you are a leader who doesn't have the right emotional intelligence, you lose your team. So it doesn't mean you need to not engage and challenge people, but you need to really listen. You can't just be shouting at people. I've never felt shouting worked. It was one of the things I hated most in my own growing up. So I would never do it to anyone. But some of the leaders also feel because they are delivering results. At what expense? Who's losing? Who's gaining? And how is this going to make sure that we're living a better world for the next generation, for the next leader? Because in the end, everybody's success is building on each other.
Yes.
So some people, you think they're taking over something great. You might just find that you have a big hole there because they've destroyed the psyche of the people. They've made them believe they're not good enough, that they're the only good person, and that doesn't work.
So,
I want to find out from you, we're having this conversation about the Kickoff Summit, which is where key market leaders will come together to chart the course for the new year. It happens every January. Yeah. So why do you think it's important for leaders to plan for the year, business leaders now, to plan for the year, to be more strategic, to start the year on a great note? Why is it important?
People see the new year as the beginning of great things. And the best way to start the year is to set your key priorities. By setting these priorities, it allows you to have clarity on what you want to achieve in the year, which means that you can then define your goals and the targets. And by having these goals and targets, it means you can share it with your team or with yourself. You can keep coming back periodically to track how well you're doing or how much challenges you're facing and decide, do I need to pivot in a particular way? There's a popular saying that says, anything that is not being measured won't get done. So tracking and measuring this gives you the right energy for the year. You also need to have the right mindset. Understand that it could be a tough year, it could be a great year, but have the mindset that everything is possible. Because if you do believe this, then you have the right set of tools to really be successful in the year. The other thing to do in Nigeria is to have scenario planning. You need to decide, what if this happens? How will I respond? What if it's great? What if it's not? What will be our response? And the reason for this is that there are externalities that you can't control. So you need to decide, how do I respond? Whereas you can then take actions on the things you can control and be able to ensure that you still achieve your goals for the year. The last thing to always focus on is to create adaptability actions for yourself, the tools. What will I need to be able to adapt in this way or in that way? It could be knowledge, understanding. All of these are very important in ensuring that you have a fantastic new year.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. So you've heard it. It's the Kickoff Summit. The New Year Kickoff Summit 2025 is holding on the 18th of January. Visit our website www.kickoffsummit.com to register to see how to be a part of it. And when you get on that website, we have a free gift for you that you can grab now. So go there, grab your copy now. It is www.kickoffsummit.com.
Talk about a number of incredible things. Do you have fun at all?
Of course.
Do you sleep at all? What's your relaxation routine? How do you have fun? Just tell us.
I mean, it's very easy to get carried away with work and not have fun. So I had periods of time when I probably didn't have time. But luckily, I had the opportunity to take stock periodically to realize the things I enjoy and started to spend more time doing those things. So I like to read, not the big textbooks and encyclopedias and all, but I love to read, action, like action movies. I like watching movies as well. I like reading books that are very well written, and that gives me fun. So you would see me sometimes, sitting with my Kindle book and just, going through some online books and all. So that's very interesting for me. I sometimes just like to hang out with my people that are in my personal space and it's the ambience and the people and, in whichever place we decide to be at, whether at home or in a restaurant or somewhere. I think that's also great because about spending quality time with quality people. I've been told that only quality people should be surrounding you. So I enjoy doing that as well. And I like music and dancing, which is very odd. But I like to be incognito, low-key, and go to some places with a few of the friends and just let our hair down. And, good music, Nigerian music, some of the best.
Yes, true to that.
But I'm weird like that. I love music from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Oh, wow. I love Nat King Cole, and I'll all the way go to Burna Boy. So I'm like across board.
Multi-generational.
Yes.
Wow.
So those ways. But many people find out that they do know their hobbies when they're young, but we all lose it along the way. So because life is going on. I went for a training about 9 years ago, and they told us, what's your hobby? And we all said, and the woman said, when did you do it last? And we were all top female executives, and many of us, the most recent time we did our hobbies last was like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So she then challenged us. You have to force yourself. So you have to have self-care. So every quarter I have to make sure that I do something fun for myself and plan it, and that's the only way to keep balance. After working so hard, I can imagine how you have to balance it off as well.
Well, we try. We try. I mean, one of my go-to places is the piano. So you see me on the piano. Yeah, it's great to know. It's great to know that. Thank you very much. A big thank you to you. Thank you to you for your kind support, for showing up, for sharing insights with us, for coming on this show, becoming the peak performer today. And we want to say congratulations to you for all the achievements of time past, and also congratulations in advance of the bigger things yet to come.
Amen.
Yes, and to let you know that much more than the way we've been there with you on the journey, we will be there with you all the way to support you in every way that we can. When we come back, it will be time to hear Dr. Abiola Salami's thoughts for the week. Stay, don't go away.
The Kickoff Summit 2025. Start the year strong. Join us at the 2025 New Year Kickoff Summit, where the brightest minds and key market leaders come together to chart a course for success in the upcoming year. This dynamic gathering is designed to set the tone for peak performance across industries. Participants will gain valuable knowledge from experts across multiple sectors, including finance, technology, healthcare, entrepreneurship, and more. Key highlights: expert panels featuring industry leaders and trendsetters, comprehensive 2025 insights across diverse professions and industries. Register now at www.kickoffsummit.com.
Becoming the peak performer. Take for the week.
You are listening to Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami, a platform for inspiring an inclusive culture of peak performance in the African marketplace.
4 strategic ways leadership retreat will enable peak performance in your organization. Famed scientist and philosopher Charles Darwin posited one of the most profound submissions that have come to shape the understanding of evolution, not just about the animal kingdom, but of general application in life. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change that survives. He gives perspective on why the ability to change is the new definition of strength. One thing we can all agree is that normal as we know it no longer exists. These times require businesses to think on their feet and make strategic decisions in real time. It is not just the first mover advantage. Accelerated changes have seen the corporate world put higher premium on the early adopter advantage. The latter is simply a Darwin parallel, which suggests that survival in the business world is increasingly shifting from merely being the early bird to being the savvy bird. Having a war chest is no longer a fail-proof. Knowing how to switch things up might be the key. Thus, a leadership retreat is not just a tick box activity, one of those things that corporations do at the end of their year. No, it is now a requirement for survival, a veritable opportunity to take a pause from the fast-paced world of business to reflect and re-strategize. And here are 4 strategic reasons you should consider having an effective leadership retreat. 1. Leadership retreat is an effective mirror. The first thing about a leadership retreat is not to trade blames, but to take responsibility. Many organizations are quick to audit their finances without auditing their people, their processes, their products, and their market. A retreat provides an atmosphere for a team to determine with data and other cogent parameters how much its own actions or inactions were a casualty to achieved outcomes. Growth requires interrogation of the things that were done right and the things that are done wrong. Because if more money is thrown into a business without identifying the underlying factors that mitigate growth, the problems might end up being amplified. It's at a retreat, away from the tense environment of a cutthroat marketplace, that pointed questions can be asked. Culture, its strategy for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner, and sometimes how a company executes an idea is more important than the idea itself. For example, a fintech company can have the best app in the ecosystem, but users could have terrible customer experiences when requesting to correct glitches encountered. Modern marketing suggests that organizations must use holistic strategies for their products and service. Simply put, the utility of a product or service is not fully appropriated until the final customer is satisfied. Organizations are so called because they work as a system, and retreats help to consolidate the parts, the personnel and the departments that are in alignment with the original vision and tweak those that are out of sync. This internal stakeholder management is one of the main thrusts of corporate retreats, and which is why retreats are mirrors that will help you to enable peak performance on your team. Number 2, Retreats can be used to redefine markets. After interrogating internal stakeholders, organizations can look at its external stakeholders. These are the exogenous factors that have affected the outcomes of an organization in the last financial year. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus submitted that, quote, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river and he is not the same man," end of quote. This quote effectively alludes to the fact that all things are constantly in motion, in a state of flux. The river in Heraclitus' anecdote is a metaphor for the dynamic nature of markets in the business world. The variables are constantly changing, such as government policies, access to investment, consumer taste, prices or availability of substitutes or rival products, and many more. All these constitute the operating environment for businesses, and the derived information determines how such businesses engage the market, or if it pulls out of certain segments and reassign resources on others. A leadership retreat affords the luxury of a 360-degree perspective on the state of play. Number 3, retreats can be used to humanize team members. You see, it is very easy to see staff in an organization as commodity, as pawns that are only as useful as the work that they contribute to the overarching vision of the organization. However, organizations with great leaders know that the most important part of human resource is the human itself. A corporate retreat is a great opportunity to give deserving team members their flowers. Typically, not many people gain notoriety in workplaces, even when they are critical to the collective success, simply owing to how skewed or centralized the leadership hierarchy is. The Pygmalion effect comes into play. When people tend to perform up to the level expected of them, it will be difficult for someone who was publicly celebrated or recognized at a corporate retreat to significantly drop the ball, because such gestures subconsciously communicate to them that they are instrumental to the team, and to whom much is given, much is expected. One of the innate human needs, according to Abraham Maslow, is esteem, which is usually boosted by recognition and respect. Many people have left higher paying jobs to join smaller companies and startups simply because they feel better appreciated in these companies. The amazing thing is that this doesn't usually involve huge financial cost. A plaque or name drop by top management during a corporate retreat can endear staff members more towards an organization. Number 4, corporate retreats helps to synergize the organization. This is especially true for large organizations. There is usually a high tendency for departments to work in silos because they are mostly competing with one another instead of complementing one another. Many people in a lot of organizations have never really congregated at the same time at the same place, and they may find themselves guilty of causing friendly fires because a proper company-wide debriefing hasn't happened. Unfortunately, such hostility towards other team members hardly bodes well for any organization. Therefore, corporate retreats can help to drive home the perspective that the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. This means that one person's or department's input is effectively another person's output, and vice versa. Retreats are also a great time to resolve perceived issues between parties in a relatively non-judgmental way, in a cohesive way, where you have people becoming more friendly because now that they can put faces to names.
Becoming the peak performer. Take for the week.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Abiola Salami's Take for the Week. We are happy to collaborate with your organization to facilitate your corporate retreats, equip your leadership team, and inspire a culture of peak performance in your organization. You can reach us on hello@abiolachamp.com or call us on 090-9123-4567. You can also follow me at Abiola Champ on all social media platforms.
You have been listening to Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist. Becoming the Peak Performer with Dr. Abiola Salami is a platform for inspiring an inclusive culture of peak performance in the African marketplace. For more resources, visit www.tppafrica.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at TPP Africa, and on Twitter at TPP_Africa.
The Kickoff Summit 2025. Start the year strong. Join us at the 2025 New Year Kickoff Summit, where the brightest minds and key market leaders come together to chart a course for success in the upcoming year. This dynamic gathering is designed to set the tone for peak performance across industries. Participants will gain valuable knowledge from experts across multiple sectors, including finance, technology, healthcare, entrepreneurship, and more. Key highlights: expert panels featuring industry leaders and trendsetters, comprehensive 2025 insights across diverse professions and industries. Register now at www.kickoffsummit.com.